Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be watching Tundra Skeeter, one of the best carry players in the world, play his Juggernaut. He went 5-0 in this game, and that's considering he laned against a Viper. His lane was absolutely horrendous, and yet he was able to hit insane item timings and kind of just run over OG. I thought his performance this game was very impressive, and so I want to talk about it, and let's get into it. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the Game Leap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the Game Leap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Alright, so the first thing I want to mention in the laning stage is an item switch up. So almost every single lane that you'll see a Jug play, they'll buy stick. There are very few exceptions, and I mean very few exceptions to this. One of the only exceptions to this is Viper. Now, we got to get into this, okay? So his first TP of the game and his item switch is very important. Number one, he didn't go stick. He went for Wraith Band, Face Boots. Now, I honestly don't fully understand the Wraith Band. I think it's mostly a slot thing. But the reason why you don't buy stick in this lane is Viper gives practically no charges. However, I think against even other heroes that give limited charges, you still should buy it. But instead, he went for some basic mana regen items and didn't waste gold on a stick. Usually I think this is a bad idea, but in this game it makes a lot of sense. The next thing we have to talk about is understanding when to leave the lane. He laned against Viper for 7 minutes straight. You can see that he only has 21 last hits to the 38 and 18 of a Mars Viper. Things are not looking too good. However, this is pretty standard when you have to lane against a Viper. It's frankly just a horrible lane. And as a result, he gets out of here. The main timing in which he gets out of here is after he takes a really deep wave under tower. He does such a great job of dragging those first few creeps deep under the tower to prevent him from taking any damage. And then after that, he just straight up leaves. The main reason why is the map setup. You can't always make the player about a C, but his mid laner actually just rotated to the bottom side of the map. You can see BZM on the Dragonite just got a double kill. And in those situations, if you're having a bad lane, you should TP mid. Usually you don't want to do this because it's going to grief your mid laner's game, so you need to make sure they leave. If your mid laner is still in their lane, what you should do instead is just jungle. He literally should just jungle. He shouldn't try to lane against the level 6 Viper unless he hits level 6, which he did now, and he wants to go for a kill. That actually is an option, so I was kind of curious if they would do that. Clearly they didn't, but it was an option. So the next thing I want to talk about is phase boots usage. This is something that I think a lot of players don't understand, even though it seems pretty basic. In this clip upcoming here, he's going to Omni slash Yuragi. Yuragi does a great job of perfectly timing the jump timer to make sure that the Jug couldn't kill him. Now he ends up trying to turn it, and what's very important about turning kills on Juggernaut, or knowing when to run at someone, it's mostly based around your phase boots active. Yeah, it's actually the case. This is not something that's like a niche. This is something you should be doing every single time you're basically trying to spin on someone. If it's during the lane and you get a 5-minute phase boots, you should use that timing to burst at people. So what he does here, once the phase boots come up, he uses the reduced turn time to turn around and get off the spin. I don't think a lot of people know that, but yeah, phase boots, they give you reduced turn time. And combining the reduced turn rate and the 20% bonus movement speed, he's able to get a solo kill on a Yuragi here. And all of a sudden, the game for him has turned around. On top of that, he makes a great decision to run top here. Usually, this would seem like a grief. It's like, this is the Viper lane. Yeah, but Viper showed bottom. And this is why it's very important to understand that just because you couldn't be in an area a minute ago doesn't mean you should never go in that area. And while that might seem obvious to a lot of you, it's whether or not you're actually doing this. A lot of players would have died to Amar 3-4 times in the lane here, left, and then never dared go back to the top side of the map. I really mean this. This is something to think about, whether or not you're doing that, because I can tell you for a fact most players are doing that. But he's now able to pick up his Voidstone, clean through the jungle, actually avoids going top here. I think he's a little bit afraid of not getting this mid tower. And yeah, that's actually what he does here. I think for most carries, this is kind of a questionable play. But in this game, I really like the idea. The reason why I think it's a good idea for him to go mid here is, number one, he's playing Juggernaut. Juggernaut is a hero that does things early game. You're not playing like Sven with no god strength or like Naga. pre your first few items. You're playing Juggernaut, you have Spin and Omni Slash, they're pretty useful. So he goes mid and gets the tower, and that's key this game because they have a tree and protector. If they don't get the tower fast, they may never get it. So his healing word and right click damage really comes into play there. Next up, let's watch how Skeeter connects to this upcoming fight. Honestly, this is something I struggle with. I even struggle, I feel like, coaching this sometimes to my students. It's just like, it's a weird concept, like when do you connect, right? What are the timings? And I think it's mostly knowing, honestly, when you're playing a hero like Juggernaut, it's two things. Do you have your cooldowns? He has Omni Slash, okay, check that box. And then the second one is, does your team want to be active, right? Like, is that what your team does? So he spins his camp here. He's like 400 gold off Battle Fury. They don't have vision of the enemy team, and yet he decides to invade. In fact, their whole team invades, which is like pretty wild, you know? They end up actually finding a pretty nice Inkswell here and taking this like really good fight, right? He forces the Yules, so even though this Omni seems bad, it obviously brings out a pretty early Yules usage from Yuragi, and that picks up a kill for them. So really, it's just about knowing your team. You gotta know whether or not they're gonna win the fights, and that's easier said than done, but this game, he has a lot of very active heroes. He has a mid Coddle, that's a hero that really comes online early into the game. He has an offlane Visage, that's a hero that really comes online early into the game. And so, yeah, basically, it's a good game for him to get active and play around his team's smokes, and that's exactly what he does. But I think in a lot of games, let's say his offlaner was Nature's Prophet, and his mid laner was Alina, right? Which will happen in your pubs. In that situation, I really do not want you guys, when you're playing your games, to like just run around and try to team fight all the time. It doesn't mean you can't force pressure on the map, just the pressure you're gonna force is less through kills in those games and more through pushing in side lanes and baiting rotations. Another thing as well that I freaking love is that he goes back for Wand. The amount of players who don't understand how good of an item Wand is, how just busted this item is for the cost, is insane. Like the amount of 2K, 3K players who just tell me, oh, you know, I didn't buy it in the lane, so I don't buy it at all. It's like, wow. Wand is like a 400 to 500 HP item if you get like max charges, right? What is it, 20 times like 15 or something? 20 times 15? Okay, so it's more like 300 something, right? Then you get 3 stats, so let's say it's up to 400 HP. 400 HP for 450 gold, assuming you pop it, right? That's insane. There's nothing else that comes even close to that, right? Think about an HP item. Just to give you guys some perspective, what HP item costs, gives close to 400 health? A Vit Booster, which gives 250 for 1,000 gold and doesn't give mana. And you might be like, oh, but you can't use it if you die, right? I mean, obviously, but especially as Juggernaut, you're probably gonna be fine. Either way, getting very active this game. I don't even know why he goes top, actually. I'm not even sure why he goes top. So he's got his Battle Fury now. And this is what's so crazy about Skeeter's gameplay. He doesn't care. He's got a Coddle pushing in the bot side of the map. They see a couple heroes show bottom. Apparently that means it's time to invade, right? That's what it means to him. He was gonna look to take the top tier 1 tower, right? They end up taking another bit of a weird engagement. You can see he's a little bit hesitant to Omni the Yules. I honestly think he could have to force out an earlier Yules, but he didn't in that case. So the next clip, and second to last clip we'll be covering, is just a play that I think is very important in pubs. It's about not overreacting to pickoffs. So 2 of his teammates TP bottom here, and I think the average player would likely make the mistake of seeing this and then assuming they have to be bottom. You really do not want to be bottom here, right? His Grim and Doom end up getting a kill on, I believe, onto the Tree and Protector, so they find him. And you can see he runs mid. And this was very important. It's a very important progression of the game here. He sends his Mantis to top, right? So the Mantis are going to help push in the top wave. I think they'll kill off 1, maybe 2 creeps. And he's going to cut the mid lane. So now they have complete vision control. If the enemy team wants to farm creep waves, which they kind of have to when they're behind like this, they have to show in very poor positions on the map. You can see Viper showing top, Io showing on a mid tier 2, which isn't too bad. Mid tier 2 is fine. But the Viper has to show top. So when that happens, he actually looks bottom for a kill. On top of that, he actually spends some time getting his Mantis out to bottom. Now, unfortunately, the DK's in the area, so they end up doing absolutely 0 damage. But after forcing a bit of a rotation at bottom, even just something as simple as like 5 to 10 seconds of DK's time to clear the illusions, he's now going to take him, a mid fight. And this really all snowballs. Now, in your pubs, people probably wouldn't even notice the Manta illusions and you just farm an entire creep wave instead, but that's obviously very positive as well. And finally, the last thing that I think he does well is, you know, he just understands how to use the Aegis. The place in which he gets initiated on here is very important. And really what it is like, it's just kind of perfect because you can see they are close enough on Saksa and they're close enough on 33 to follow up the go, right? So if they try to burst the jug from full, which they do, then it's able to be followed up on, right? So many resources are committed on trying to kill the jug. He doesn't panic with the spin, so he now has it on his second life if he really needs it. And turns out he does. The Viper's going on him, finishes off the Viper, and OG calls GG. So all in all, hopefully you guys learned a lot from Skeeter's gameplay. I thought this was an incredibly crisp game from him and the boys on Tundra. I think their high-paced gameplay is really fascinating, and it's honestly inspiring to me because I'm not gonna lie, I'm much more like a split the map, farm waves type of player, and I think like finding a balance or learning how Tundra plays is gonna be really cool for me, and hopefully I can, you know, kind of share this information with you guys. Nonetheless, I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.